Hello boys and girls, it's Aunty Mimmi here, and today it's Throwback Saturday, where we're going to look in our big trunk of treasures for one of your favourite stories. What can it be? If you've not already subscribed to the channel, please do so now. Then sit back, get comfortable, and let's begin. Today's story is The Elves and the Shoemaker. Enjoy. There was once a shoemaker named Will, who, bit by bit, became very poor because of his kindness to other people. His shoes were some of the best that could be bought anywhere. But if the customer told him a hard luck story, he would reduce the price, and so he became poorer and poorer, until all he had left in the shop was enough leather to make one pair of shoes. Before he went to bed that night, he cut out the shoes and left them on his bench ready to start making them up the following morning. "I hope I can sell the shoes quickly," he said to Sarah, his wife, "for until I do, we have no money for food." "Don't worry yourself about that," replied Sarah. "We'll manage one way or another." And off they went to bed. Next morning, Will woke early so that he could start making the shoes. It would take him at least 3 days of sewing to finish them ready for sale. But when he lit the candle in his workshop, for it was still dark outside, his eyes fell upon his own leather made up into the most beautiful pair of shoes. The stitching was as fine and regular as his own work, and the buckles and leather had been polished until they shone brightly even in the dull glow of the candle. "Who can have done such wonderful work so quickly?" he muttered to himself as he ran to wake Sarah. "It must have been the fairies or some kind soul who wants to help us," she said. "I will polish the windows so that everyone will see how fine the shoes are, and maybe someone will come in this morning and buy them." No sooner had the shoes been placed in the window than 2 gentlemen came into the shop. Both wanted the shoes so badly that they each started to outbid the other. "I will give you 15 crowns, cried one. "I'll give 20 crowns, answered the other. 30, answered the first gentleman. But the shoemaker cried, "Gentlemen, gentlemen, I can soon make another pair and have them ready in a few days. All I want is my asking price of 10 crowns. After the gentleman had gone, the shoemaker hurried off to the leather merchant, where the money he had received for the shoes bought enough leather for him to make 2 more pairs of shoes, and still left a little over for food. "See," said Sarah, "I told you not to worry. Now off to bed. Don't forget, you have promised the other gentleman that his shoes will be ready for him in a few days' time." So the shoemaker went off to his workshop and carefully cut out the 2 pairs of shoes. The next morning, Will awoke early and crept quietly down to his workshop so as to not disturb his wife. But when he found 2 pairs of shoes, each as well made as polished as the first pair, his shouts of joy soon woke Sarah. "Who can be doing this wonderful thing for us?" they asked each other. "Perhaps they are still hiding in the shop." But although they searched the shop, from the attic to the cellars, they could find no one. Like the first pair, the shoes were so well made that they sold within minutes of the shoemaker opening the shop. And with the money, Will was able to buy leather enough for 4 pairs of shoes, as well as having enough left over to buy more food. Over the next few weeks, night after night, the shoemaker left leather cut out sufficient for more and more shoes. And each morning the finished pairs gleamed in the light of his candle. Soon Will's fame spread far and wide, and he became quite wealthy. But because he was an honest man, he said to Sarah, "Someone must be working very hard to make us so rich. Let's hide ourselves away in the shop, and then we must see who it is that has been helping us so much, and we can reward them in some way." So they hid themselves away in the darkest corner of the shop and waited. Shortly after the town hall clock struck midnight, 2 elves appeared in the shop. Each had a long grey beard and wore a very tattered tunic and trousers that were badly torn and patched. Neither of them had either shoes or a hat, but they climbed up onto the shoemaker's bench and sang quietly to themselves as they began to sew away. And in less than an hour, 30 gleaming pairs of shoes sat on the workbench. Then the tiny men vanished as quickly as they had appeared. When they were sure that the elves had gone, Will and Sarah crept out from their hiding place. "Oh, the poor dears," said Sarah. "Did you see the state of their clothes? And no shoes on their feet, nor hats on their heads," said Will. "Then we must put everything right," Sarah answered. "You can make each a pair of shoes while I make them both a suit of clothes." So Will and Sarah set to, and by the time the cock crowed, 2 tiny suits of the finest tweed and 2 pairs of shiny red elfin shoes were ready. That night, Will and Sarah laid the clothes and shoes on the workbench and once more hid away in the darkest part of the shop. The town hall clock chimed midnight, and no sooner than the last sound had died away, the 2 elves suddenly appeared. They quickly set to work, and in no time at all 40 pairs of beautiful shoes stood ready on the shoemaker's bench. When the elves spied the clothes and shoes that had been left out for them, the 2 little men began to chatter excitedly, and when they tried them on, they fitted perfectly. They danced and sang with glee. In the darkness, Will and Sarah hugged each other. So happy were they that they had been able to repay the elves in some measure for all the work they had done. Although the shoemaker became even more successful, he did not forget the little men, and he and his wife often left out little offerings of food or clothes, which always disappeared by the next morning. Well, that was a wonderful little book today, wasn't it, boys and girls? I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. So, as always, I want you to be kind to one another, look after one another, and try and have some fun every single day. Until next time, bye-bye.